Okay, today we're going to practice drawing some smooth curves. If you've ever done any vector drawing, you already know that drawing a smooth curve is more difficult than working with a cusp curve or certainly a straight line. It's more difficult to get it just the way you want. So let's practice. We'll start with this shape here, and as always, I'm not showing my drawing tools. This is not intended to be specific for any particular drawing program. So I'll use my Bezier tool, and I'll start with just a straight line. Now I'm making the line much thicker than I ordinarily would because I want it to show up on the video. So I'll use my shape tool now to marquee select that and change it to a curve. Now I can just drag that curve up to where I want it to be, and that's about all I need to do. As you know, you can also use your arrow keys or your arrow controls if you need to make the line a little bit more accurately shaped out. Now if I have a curve that goes in both directions like this, that's a little more difficult to draw, but I'm going to still do it with two nodes. Always use as few nodes as you need to. Now, I've seen some people, and I myself was one of them years ago, that would sort of go like this, like this, like this, all the way down, and then try and shape out each segment by itself, and you end up with not a very nice graceful curve. So instead, just use two unless you need to use another one, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So just like before, I'll convert this to a curved line. I'm using my shape tool, and this time I'm going to use my arrow controls to shape it out. And as you can see, this takes a little more work and a little more patience. And I like to sort of make smaller and smaller adjustments until I get it the way I want it to look. So that's how I work with a line that curves in two different directions. Now sometimes you'll get a curve that you need to draw that you just can't do with two nodes. You can try. I can already tell from looking at this that it's not going to work. But just to demonstrate that to yourself, you can try it with two, and it might be worthwhile to do that, because if you can use two, you should, because once you add another one in the middle, it's more difficult to make a graceful, smooth curve. But I can tell just by starting to work on this that this just isn't going to happen. So I'm going to add one right here, extra node, and I'm going to make sure it's a cusp node just for now, because that makes it easier for me to shape out each side of this line. Because a cusp node can be shaped with either side of the curve independent of the other. So it makes it much easier to shape this out, get it the way I want. And I'll just keep working on this for a moment. And when I get it about how I want it to look, these arrows should be opposite of one another. That shows that I've drawn a nice smooth transition to this curve. And now I can convert this to a smooth curve. Maybe I'll get that a little bit more accurate. I'm not going to work as hard on this as I might if I was doing it for a project, for a customer. This is just for a video. When you do it, you're going to want to take your time and make sure you're doing a nice job. So then when I convert this to a smooth curve, you can see it doesn't really jump very much, a little bit there. And now I can finish my shaping. That looks like it's about done there. So that's the way I would work with that curve. And once again, always use as few nodes as you can. Every time you add a node, as you can see here, even though this is a smooth node, I can sort of see where it is, because it just isn't exactly perfect. And if you're like me, you can't stand looking at something unless it's just right. So now you can practice working with smooth curves, and I hope your next project goes well.